Hello power users, and welcome to the first CNVS Studio tutorial. In this video, we'll learn how to take your web design into the third dimension with the world's first true no-code WebGL web design powerhouse. Together, we'll set up your very first simple scene, design it, publish it, and cover some important techniques for navigating the core features of CNVS Studio. This video is meant to be the go-to resource for setting up any scene. In the next videos, we'll create more complex designs, step by step, and explore all of the different moving parts more in depth. So you'll have every tool you need to bring your 3D ideas to life. Because with CNVS Studio, the only limit is your imagination, and you'll see why over the course of this video. But first, let's set up the simplest possible scene together. This will help us get the basics down before we move on to more complex designs in future videos. Here we have a completely empty page using the Elementor Canvas template. That way we don't have any distractions. Now let's drop in the CNVS Studio widget. This creates our container. We'll make it full width, remove the default margin and padding, then publish and view the page. Right away we see the default box. To look around, just drag with your mouse. To zoom, scroll the wheel. To pan the view, hold Shift and click Drag. As a rule of thumb in CNVS Studio, the left panel shows every single item in your scene, be it elements, effects, materials, lights, animations, everything. When you click on one voice, the right panel updates to show all the properties for that item. Up here instead, the top bar is where you can save and load your work, check keyboard shortcuts at all times, and access more advanced tools like responsive design previews, and scroll-based animation. We'll dive deeper into those features in their own dedicated videos. But even before those, we nonetheless encourage you to check out the full documentation on our website. You can get to it by clicking the link in the header, which will take you to the first entry, or through the hamburger menu. Inside the menu, the documentation is organized by topic. Just click on a topic, and you'll see all the features connected to it. When you finish reading one entry, simply scroll down. At the bottom, you'll first see a link back to the main topics page, then a few related links that belong to the same topic. And at last, you'll find links to all the other topics. This way, it's easy to keep exploring without losing track. Now back to our scene. Before we do anything, let's give it a black background so it's easier on the eyes. We do this by navigating here to Scene Settings on the leftmost panel, and then removing the alpha from the background color setting, down here in the rightmost panel. CNVS Studio comes with a transparent background by default, so you can let your Elementor section's background, which is of course part of the design, shine through as reference while you work. Even with the dark background, our scene doesn't look that impressive yet. So let's start adding more elements and then make them look good. Back to the backend. Let's click on the Canvas widget and open its settings. For now, we'll focus on the basics and go straight to elements. This is where we add objects to the scene. It's also where the default box we saw earlier comes from. Notice the details. It has a unique ID of box. It's a geometric element type, and its shape type is box. Let's give it a companion, a sphere. Click Add Item, give it the unique ID of sphere, and select the sphere shape type. That's a geometric element type. We could also choose to upload any sort of 3D object ourselves, or even generate it with CNVS Studio's AI tools, but we'll stick with the basics for now. Now let's add a floor for both objects to sit on. Again, click Add Item, set the ID to floor, and choose the plane shape type. You can add as many elements as you want here using this handy repeater, but for now, let's just update and take a look. At first, it looks like only the box is showing. That's because every object is created in the same spot. And since the box is larger, it hides the others. So we need to move them apart. There are two main ways to move elements in CNVS Studio. The first one is by clicking on the object and using this overlay called a gizmo. Just drag the arrows along the axis you want to move the object along. The second way is using the right panel and changing the position values. You can type them in or click and drag. Here's a tip. Hold Alt while dragging a value for more precise increments. And remember, objects move along three axes, X, Y, and Z. Y is the height axis, while Z is depth. With more complex scenes, it can be easy to lose your bearings in 3D space. But no problem. In the left panel, under Scene, you'll find axes and grid helpers. Toggle these on and you'll always know your orientation. Now that we move the box away, we can see the sphere, and moving the sphere reveals the plane. There it is. Although it looks a bit small, let's make it bigger. We can scale it, again, with the gizmo by pressing S and dragging along the axes, or by adjusting the scale values in the left panel with the object selected. We can also change the actual size of the geometry on top, or instead of scaling it. In the geometry settings, the plane lets us adjust width and height. Each shape type has its own controls. The sphere, for example, has a radius. The box also has depth. Another important control is segments, which set how detailed the shape is. More segments make it smoother, fewer make it blockier. To see this more clearly in action, we can turn on wireframe in the Miss submenu. This shows the shape as a grid, which is very useful for checking performance and style. This is just a taste of just how much we can control with CNVS Studio, and we'll explore this more in later videos. But for now, let's make the plane larger by setting its width and height to 25. We'll also move it down slightly. Right now, though, everything is this uniform, flat gray, which makes it hard to see what's going on. But to change that, we can change the material color. Materials are the skin of your 3D objects. They decide how a surface looks and how it reacts to light, among other things. In the left panel, you'll see materials listed right under the objects. Whenever we create a new element, CNVS Studio gives it a default working material, so we can see it right away. Let's select the floor's default material in the left panel. Its properties, as always, appear in the right panel. For now, let's make it red so we can clearly see where we're placing the other objects. Using the gizmo or the position controls, we can place both objects on top of the plane. Now I want to rotate the box so it balances on one of its corners. We could use the gizmo for this by pressing R on the keyboard, but for precise control, we'll use the right panel instead. With any transformation and most sliders, we can click the little arrow to expand the control and see exactly what we're adjusting. Let's rotate the box on the Y-axis by 45 degrees and on the X-axis by about 55. Then we'll move it up so it looks like its corner is resting on the floor. I'm not fully convinced yet, so let's move and scale our objects around until we're satisfied with the composition. As with everything that has to do with design, even small details go a long way in CNVS Studio. That's the basic setup done, but it doesn't look very exciting yet. Now it's time to make these objects look good. That means replacing the default materials with our own. But before we do that, let's save our progress so we don't lose it. Click the Save button here in the interface, and as always, give it a unique name. Let's call this one State 1, then click Save. Wait for the confirmation at the bottom of the screen. This will tell us that the state has been saved. Think of saving a state as taking a snapshot of your scene. If we refresh the page right now, however, everything goes back to the default placement and look. But if we go back to the top bar and click the load icon next to the Save button, we will be given an option to load any previous state we saved. Loading State 1, which is the one we saved together, we'll see that none of our work got lost. To make things easier, let's set this as the default state, so the page always opens with this setup. Think of it as publishing the design. Let's go back to the backend and take a look at the editor to see how. In the Configure tab, in Initial States, we will now see that we're able to select the state we just saved. Select it as the initial state for the desktop. If we leave the other devices empty, they'll automatically inherit the desktop state. We can even create separate states for each device, which is one way to do responsive design in CNVS Studio. But yeah, you guessed that right. We'll go really in depth in regards to responsive design in a dedicated tutorial. Now, when we refresh the front end, the page loads directly into our saved setup, but it still looks incomplete. So as we said before, let's work on the materials. Back in the Elementor editor, just after the light section, we'll find materials. By now you can see the flow. We create all sort of scene items in the backend editor, then design and style them in the front end. This is where our element's unique IDs become useful. Let's start by creating a basic material. Give it any unique name, for example, Material 1, and paste all of our unique IDs into the target field, separated by commas. Save, then refresh the front end. Now all of the default working materials went away, and when we edit the new material, all of the elements change together. This can be very useful, but in this case, it isn't exactly what we want. So instead, let's create one material per element. Now it's the time to choose the material type. Each type reacts to light in its own way, among other things. Some will be better for specific situations. We'll cover this in detail later, but for now, we'll stick with the ever-reliable standard material. So as we said, let's make one standard material for the box, one for the sphere, and one for the floor. Be sure to connect each material to the correct element unique ID. After saving, let's go back to the front end. Notice the difference. The elements are now responding to light, so they're no longer bright white. They still look dull gray though, and that's because the lighting we have right now is uniform. This is fine for now. We'll bring the scene to life with proper lighting later once our objects have textures. Think of textures as images that wrap around our 3D objects to give it detail and realism. A texture can make a surface look like wood, marble, metal, fabric, or anything else we choose. Combined with material settings, textures control color, shine, roughness, and even how bumpy or smooth the surface feels under the light. Here's the plan. I want the sphere to look like marble, the box to look like cardboard, and the floor to look like wood. We can achieve that with a mix of textures and material properties. But first, we need to grab the textures. A great place to find free textures is ambientcg.com. Let's head there and look for the ones we need. Keep in mind, the higher the quality, the heavier the performance impact. To keep things light, let's stick with 1K textures for now. With the download done, unzip the files and have them ready to upload to the site. Back in the Elementor editor, click the pencil next to Maps for the first material. You'll see several texture slots. Each of them represent a material property we can influence with a texture. Let's click the first slot and upload your textures. We don't need every file we downloaded. For now, just upload the color, roughness, metalness, and the normal GL maps. When you choose a normal map from Ambient CG, always pick the GL version. We'll cover all the details of texturing and materials in future videos, but for now we're keeping things simple so you can experiment on your own. Once the uploads are done, select the color map in the color slot, then set roughness, metalness, and normal GL in their respective slots. With that, we've got the cardboard look for our box. We will do the same for the sphere and the floor. Remember, any material we download will only have the exact amount and type of maps that we need to complete their look. We can leave the other slots empty or even ignore some slots we have maps for if we don't need them. We're confident you will get the feel for it as you experiment more and more with CNVS Studio. And of course, we'll be here every step of the way to provide more tips and in-depth tutorials on how to work with all the tools at your disposal. After saving and going back to the front end and refreshing, we can see our objects finally have textures, but they still look quite flat. That's because the most important ingredient is missing: lights. Back in the editor between elements and materials, you'll find the lights section. The dull look we see now is still coming from global illumination, also called ambient light, which is the default light that we see here. Let's add a new light. Just like materials, the type we choose depends on the style we're going for. For now, we'll keep it simple and add a point light. Let's call it point. Save, then go back to the front end. At first, not much seems to have changed. So where is our light? Look at the left panel under lights. You'll see the point light we created. Select it, and on the right, you'll see its properties. Toggle on the helper, and a little wireframe cage shows where the light is coming from. If we move it around, we can see it start to affect the scene. A point light works like a bare light bulb. It shines light evenly in every direction from a single point in space. The closer it is to an object, the brighter that object looks. As it moves away, the light fades. To make the contrast stronger, let's lower the intensity of the ambient light and make our point light brighter. If we want, we can add more lights to create highlights, backlighting, or any other effect we need. When you're satisfied with your edits, but want to add any element, light, or material, always remember to save first so that you don't lose progress on your scene. In this case, I like where I placed the point light. but want to add more light sources, so I saved before going back to the editor and making new additions. Experimenting with lights is one of the fastest ways to make even a simple scene stand out with artistic value. You can see me add a light source, place it, save it, and add the next light. Of course, we can also add all items from the start, but sometimes designing as you go is the key to amazing scenes in CNVS Studio. When you're satisfied, don't forget to turn off the helpers, as some will be visible to users even if they're logged off, like the light helpers. This is because sometimes even light helpers may be used as design elements, so you have the freedom to leave them visible. With the helpers off, we save one last time, make sure the intended state is in the starting states, and our scene will be ready for our users to enjoy. For the finishing touch, we can limit how the users are able to interact with it by going to the scene settings here in the left panel and toggling specific navigation options on or off in the right panel, under Orbit Controls. As always, every change in the front end requires a save to take effect. And remember, we can of course place any other element or widgets or designs on the same page with our CNVS Studio widget. By positioning them above or below it by adjusting position and Z-index, we can achieve some truly amazing results. Personally, I like to work in this sequence. First set up the composition, then the materials, and finally add the lights to bring everything together. From there, we can take things even further with post-processing effects, environments, and even scrolling animations on each element. But for now, you've learned how to set up your very first scene. This knowledge will help you at every stage of your CNVS Studio journey, even when building the most complex projects. In the next videos, we'll dive deeper into all the features inside CNVS Studio, explore their use cases, and learn how to choose the best tool for each job.